Hello everyone, I'm Joey Seeley, owner of Emotion Engineering. We're back today filming kind of a momentous occasion for me, preserving some history. Project Nasty, as you know, is going up for sale, and we figured it was appropriate to share some of the intimate details of the build, but also really what it meant to me and how the car came to be, and how it became such a serious extension of my personality, as someone once put it for a magazine article. Originally, I bought the car back in 2007, which was the very last year of pro racing for me in the American Le Mans Series. Found this beautiful little DE 911 Carrera, 1985 911 Carrera with a 3.2, 915 transmission. And it was perfect. Right number, right amount of mods, something that I could play with. And I'll never forget the first time I tracked it. Because it actually had torque. It was a hoot. I was screaming in my head, in my helmet. But as all things, being a builder, you can't leave well enough alone. I quit pro racing. It was still my daily driver. Started modding and improving visually and performance, mostly performance oriented things. But 17 years later, and I don't know how many iterations, we have a very special car that, became infamous around the world as Project Nasty, because it really was just an angry little car, among all the modern, big horsepower, performance with finesse cars. It just was angry. We took out the air conditioning because it didn't work. Didn't need it, and just kept staring at it like I still do today, looking at things to improve or make better. But on a budget, of course, in my younger years. And rather than fixing things, they just got removed, because we didn't need it. Interior and more things. And then it just became an obsession with making it lightweight. And it eventually became a race car. Never really officially used as a race car, although it did some fun events here and there. But it was still a daily driver, or occasional driver as the years progressed. But the car continued to change as I got older, and more things became more important or less important, depending on what it was. But my clientele changed and my approach changed, and I started to revise, to add that extra amount of detail, the tactile, I keep saying, just the things, the suede, and the leather. Very, very limited amounts of it, of course, but something like anything you had to touch, felt nice. Make the car just a little quieter. I mean, saying it's quieter is really kind of funny. The first time I put the new exhaust on it with the catalysts, I remember a delivery guy was here and he goes, "Wow, that sounds special." And I was like, thank God, because I didn't want to take away from the car. I wanted to add to the driving experience, not have it be so overwhelming. And that really is how I build my cars for my clients. I don't like one-trick ponies anymore. I want a track car that also you can take to dinner on Saturday night, or a long drive up the coast, without it fatiguing the passenger or the driver. Definitely something you don't ever need to turn the stereo on in, and just really reward all the senses. So, comfort on the street, performance on the track, all in one setting. Daily driver Cayenne, that you can go overlanding with. Daily driver 911 that you can take off-road. But really, obviously, we're most well known for the track cars that, can line up with the cup cars, and turn similar, if not the same lap times, but then swap out the wheels and put street tires on and continue on driving the way you always used to. So Nasty was a lot like that. of course, it didn't have air conditioning or heat or a radio. You didn't want the radio, but it's a wonderful car to drive. You know, and I'm immensely attached to it. You know, it is part of my personality. Not too loud, not too overbearing, not too boisterous. You know, it's somewhat modest. You know, until you really push it. You know, and then it really comes to life, and you see what the car is capable of. It's a lot of fun, and it's just time to stop tinkering with it and move on to the next project and see what I can create that will get everyone excited, but obviously me, you know, and maybe not get so emotionally attached in the next few cars. But I'm looking forward to it, and it's time for a new owner to use it more than I get to use it, you know, because that's the hardest part, is just having such a beautiful car, so much, you know, effort gone into creating a one-off masterpiece, you know, and that's not in my own words, although I do feel like it is. It just needs to be adored by someone else and actually used. So, and there's so much under every aspect of that car that's been changed and modified and changed again and again. That car is very much emotion engineering, and emotion engineering is very much in that car and in myself. I think it kind of goes back to what I say a lot of, you know, where it shows the progression of me and my skills and what was important to me over the years, where, you know, I never worked on street cars. I only worked on race cars for the first half of my career. And then I started playing with street cars, but really with the intention of outright performance and only that, and at the cost of streetability or comfort or all the above. So that car has progressed with me as I've taken out a lot of that, the compromise. I don't want compromise. Customers shouldn't compromise. The car should do all the things right, which is really difficult, but I've mentioned it in other videos and other articles or whatever, but really I learned a lot of that chassis tuning and that approach to drivability at Pikes Peak, because you really need something very compliant there for the bumps at the top section. And you need something with a lot of weight transfer for the middle section. And you need something still with so much mechanical grip everywhere. But really, the bottom section is a very fast and flowing road course type of section of that hill climb. So to do the bottom section well, that's a race car. But to do the middle and top, not so much. You know, so really to get it without changing the car mid-run, make it do all of those things very well, translated directly into what I did with Project Nasty and what I do with our customer cars, is really make it compliant for street use, communicate well with the driver for, you know, the canyons, mountains, and the track, and just have that outright performance, you know, for the track. And it speaks volumes to, you know, customers' comfort in the car, because when the car is predictable and relatively easy to drive, your personal threshold has moved up. So this car, although a handful because it's a trailing arm car, it really, among trailing arm cars, is probably the most grip you'll ever experience. I said it so many times. I'm kind of a broken record when it comes to people who've driven or even said anything about my cars in general. Zwart said it was the most grip in an air-cooled 911 he's ever had. Patrick Long said it was an air-cooled 997 GT3 Cup car for the street, which was really funny. Because it is. I mean, it really, actually, in the 997 era, it's probably more like an RSR than a Cup car. But, you know, it's no expense spared for performance, you know, and then fine-tuning little bits and pieces to make it just a little more comfortable, a little more communicative, you know, for to know what the car's doing. So sliding this car around is pretty easy. You know, backing it into corners is definitely the fast way of driving it, you know. In fast, out fast, you know, instead of in slow, out fast. But you, if you're rotating into the corner, you can get back to the throttle really quickly, which is the way to drive a 911 without nannies, you know. There's no traction control, no ABS, no power steering. It's a go-kart. So, I mean, I guess the car has evolved with me as I've evolved in emotion engineering, and will continue to evolve. But the hardest part to portray to anyone, no matter what the car is the driving experience. Everything is about Nürburgring lap times and stuff like that, but that's the way I used to be. And it does not say what it's going to be like for you to drive. So somehow, someday, we'll figure out how to get the message across of what the driving experience is like, and that's as simple as how does the shifter feel in your hand? What's the car sound like? Is it too loud? Is it overbearing? Is it too stiff? Which that's never the case for my cars. If it is, I've got work to do. So you want it to do everything well and just put a smile on your face. And as the business name says, evoke that emotional experience. Something you think about when you're not driving. Think about that experience driving it. We just drove a customer around in a great GT3 today, and he was just like, wow, this is truly an experience, because it does everything well, and without being too much in any department, and creating that balance. So the only unbalance with this car is no air conditioning.